Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Two Have and Two Roll podcast. My name is Oliver. I am but one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my wife and co-host, Robin. Hey, Robin.
Hello, everyone.
And today we are going to be recapping Empire LARP Event 4 of 2023, the last Empire LARP event of the year. There's going to be player events coming up and things like that, but it is our last Empire Festival LARP of the year. Boo, boo. It feels like the end of summer as well, with the end of the Fest LARP system as well. Before we get into our recap, though, a quick call to action. If you are watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe. That really helps us out. We are approaching like 1K subs. We are the little goal things we have currently. We have like I think to hit our next goal, it's like 4,000 watch hours, and we have like 13,000 watch hours or something. But we kind of need like 100 or so subs.
So close.
Yeah, it would really. It's completely free. It really helps us out. If you're listening on your favorite audio platforms, make sure that you give us a 5-star review. That would be really helpful too. It just helps people find us. Again, completely free. It's the only thing we'll ever ask of you. With all that out of the way, let's get into our recap of Empire Event 4, which is the Autumn Equinox.
I have the list, don't I?
Do you have the list?
Okay. Yeah.
Throwing the ball back to you.
Event 4. Yeah, we did our usual. We arrived on the Thursday and all got set up. I don't know about you, but I am loving our new setup because we've got an actual oh, that's the thing. We better tell everybody where we camped, because we've got our new characters. Yeah,
so this recap is going to be we've got a lot to get through. Basically, we've got a lot to get through because not only are we recapping what happened, what we did, we've got to recap basically what it was like playing new characters in. So we if in case you haven't this is your first time listening or you hadn't heard, we lost our last LARP characters, which were our first LARP characters as well.
Yeah.
And they were our first LARP characters, first Empire characters. We'd been playing them for seven events, so almost like 2 years. And yeah, we were then left with one more event of the year, which we'd already had tickets for. It's not like we weren't going to go anyway, but we had basically 5 weeks to get over the loss of those characters and make new characters and decide what nation they were going to be in, what what archetypes they were going to be, what type of game that we wanted to explore. We needed to make sure that we were placed right in placing ourselves right within the groups of people and friends that we wanted to play with. So it was a lot, and there was only 5 weeks between E3 and E4 as well.
Yeah, it was a really shortened time between these events.
Yeah. So because we needed like a week to get over the loss of Godric and Aranel, to be honest.
My gosh, yeah. We like after that event, and we say a week, I think it was more like 2 weeks of just like sitting around mourning them.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was rough. We are going to do. We're still planning on doing an episode. Maybe bring some guests on character loss, and we'll do like a deep dive into LARP character loss. It did feel like, because the end of the last event, someone came up to us and lots of people came up to us, but one person in particular came up to us and said the words, "Oh, you're real LARPers now." Like, and it did.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that was true this event, because I felt like I kind of had a bit of anxiety coming in because I wasn't entirely sure whether I was going to be able to just come in like I had been, because I built out over 2 years of playing Godric. When time in came, I kind of knew what to do. I was like, oh, I have things to do. Coming in as a brand new character, I was like, oh no, what am I gonna Yeah, I was just petrified that I was going to be at a time in and just be like twiddling my thumbs, being like, "Oh, no one's speaking to me. I don't know what to do. Don't know what game to go do." How did you feel,
Um,
beforehand?
I kind of overly prepared. Like I was so worried about that happening as well that I was like, I need to have like, I'm going to plan where I'm going first. I'm going to decide, who I'm going to speak to, what my goals are going to be, and I'm going to like go heavy into that. Um, More because of that worry of, yeah, am I just going to sit around for the whole weekend, or am I going to even know what to do, or is this character going to be accepted, or am I going to hate it and want to come home? And yeah, it was a weird feeling.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because we had such a unique, no, it's not unique's not the right word at all. Because we had a real like special send off for those characters. Uh, I think to be honest, so much happened as well. Like in between events, people have written songs about them. Um, like Mark did so actually, I might put the link down for in the
Oh,
description.
yeah.
Um, so Mark Humes did a write up for a funeral service for Godric and Aranel, and it's basically like a bit of fic of like, if you were to go to this funeral of Godric and Aranel, this is what you'd see. I'll put the link down in the description.
It's like properly incredible actually. It spans over a it is pretty much like a 5 day sort of like beautifully described place with different scenes with possible characters you might meet along the way.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the thing is, and because it was, we had so much of that, and it was like people really paid homage to our characters, which was really amazing. But coming in then with our second characters, it was like, oh, like I don't want. It was, it's it's almost anxiety about not wanting people to think that you're just playing the same character,
Yes.
even though it sounds
I
silly to
was really
say it
worried
out
about
loud.
that.
Because I don't know how you felt about Aranel, but Godric for me was just very. He was very vanilla, but he was pretty much just kind of like as close to me as I could get that archetype. Basically, he was supposed to be a character that I could just comfortably be in, without putting on too much of a character. And I did that on purpose. So because it had a lot of me in there, I didn't want my next character to be like, oh, and people would be like, oh, it's the same. Oh, it's just the same character.
Yeah. No, no, same. I was really worried about that because I'm again, Aranel was very much she was me. She was really friendly to everyone and she just loved everyone and just wanted to, yeah, just like she was just, I think we both basically, when it came to those characters, and we've said this before, we read the Dawn brief and we wanted to be like, hey, how can we be the most Dawnish Dawn that we can be? And we really went for that. And I became so comfortable. Like for me, I really struggled because for me, Aranel was like a part of me that I wish I could have been more often in real life. I don't mean like getting into fights with people, but just her confidence, her ability to put herself forward for things, to confront people in certain ways. I was like, wow, I wish I could actually be her, forgetting that she was me. And she was like the dream that I wanted to be. So to come in as a different character now, I was like, well, how do I still go have fun, play a character that I want to play without just repeating the character that I've already played?
Yeah, yeah. So this is then. So we'll talk about this now then. So this is obviously compounded by the fact that we decided to come back to Dawn, right? So
Yes.
uh, we'll go over the reasons why. I guess. I mean, there's a list of reasons. that seem obvious to us because it's our decision, but like just for listeners. Now, I did have, because of things like doing a bit of content creation around LARPing, and it's you feel like the more different the wider range of experiences you can have just gives us more stories to tell. There was a little bit niggling in the back of my head. I was like, should we try something else?
Mm.
But Dawn is just, we just freaking love Dawn, don't we? It's
Yeah.
I think I think the main reason, apart from the fact we love the brief so much, is that I won't speak for you, but for me, I felt like I was only kind of half done with my time with Dawn, you know. So I feel like there's more of the brief I wanted to discover, but more importantly for me, out of character, I've made some really, really good friends. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, well, to be honest, like some of the friends that I've met in this nation, in this game, I consider among my best friends now. Like, really quite close friends,
Yeah.
and I'm comfortable in the nation. You know, I know the people, and I'm comfortable, and I was, you know, these friendships have been, we've been compounding interest on these out of character friendships, you know,
Yeah.
in that previous 7 events, you know, and I wasn't ready to walk away from that. I don't know what you feel about it.
Well, for me, and I actually, strangely enough, today spoke to someone who is a new player, and they have been to a few of the events, and they were still, saying, I was like, oh, I didn't do any player events, and they were like, oh, not too sure yet because we haven't really met a lot of people yet. I'm not too sure and things like that, but we're enjoying it. And I was like, I want to really make it clear that I was like that for a very long time. And the first three events that I did, I barely left your side. It took me quite a long time to feel confident enough to kind of walk off and find my own game. And that was mainly because of all the, I guess, from experience at like Comic Cons, and I was so geared up for it to be like that it took me a long time. Since then, though, I've made all these amazing friends and connections, but they are all, a lot of them are in Dawn because those are the people I spend most of my time with. There are individual people in all the other nations I have those friendships and connections with, but in Dawn, I have such comfort around so many people that I was like, no, I don't want to step away from that, because I know that even if I'm heading off to see friends in the league, if I'm heading off to the league to see friends, I enjoy my time there. I've got my friends here. I feel safe. I feel comfortable. But my home is when I go back to Dawn. And I know that there's all these groups in Dawn that I can be comfortable in. And I just wasn't prepared to leave. Plus, I love being in Dawn. I love this knight in shining armor. I absolutely love it, Dawn. And I feel like I was always meant to be in Dawn.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn is what drew me to the game. Like, it's not like I like, you know, I love the other nations, but Dawn is literally what made me want to play Empire. You know, it was
Yeah.
that I was like, oh, that's the usual archetype I like to play in RPGs. And obviously, when I say the archetype, even obviously, I went for the, yeah, that knight errant, fighty knight errant with sword and shield, and going off to prove one's glory type thing. But even all the other archetypes, you know, in Dawn, still spoke to me.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the other thing as well, like tied to that, for our decision is obviously like our group that we're in.
Yes.
So you know, it's there's many ways to run a group. Like we talked, when we had Henry on the podcast, we talked at length about running LARP groups, and everybody has a different way of doing it.
He
Henry,
had some great advice and
yeah,
everything as well. I
yeah,
really like how he ran things.
yeah, exactly. But that's not how everyone runs it, you know. And every group will be different. A bit like, because a lot of people listening to this will have been part of tabletop roleplay groups. You know, it's a very similar thing. I think it's a good idea to run a LARP group like a tabletop group, even though it's a fest LARP, and there's thousands of people. If you have your group, and this is coming from people that didn't come in as a group. We sort of came in as a group because it was like two of us, sort of,
Yeah.
right? But we then obviously then joined the group, and it's difficult because a lot of people will advise you to come try and find a group before you come, and then some people will be like, oh, because solo play, don't do it. But we kind of went solo and then found where we were comfortable. So it took us basically, and we had friends. There was definitely room for us to fully join a group before we did.
Yeah.
But there was no real need, and we got comfortable. We got to know people, and that was that was almost 2 years worth of getting to know people and being comfortable enough with them to be like, right, okay, you're my role play friends. Even though you role play with
Yes.
everyone on the field, it's like, right, what I want out of a group is the friend. We've gone to the people that we enjoy being in a group with, and then to like it was very difficult to walk away from that. It was very difficult to
It's
be
well,
like,
we
oh yeah,
were
we'll go somewhere else now.
yeah, it was like getting to that comfort level as well of having a group of people where you have those safety tools in place. You know one another well enough to know what people are and are not comfortable with, but also to have that comfort level with a group that I know I can walk into camp at any point, any time of the day, no matter what's going on, and I can literally say to one of them, "Oh, I need an out of character moment. I'm not feeling too great. Can we just nip and have a chat over there? Can we just go out of character for a bit?" And I know that every single person will be like, "Yeah, of course we can." And I have the comfort to be able to say that. Whereas it takes a while before you kind of get to that stage with a group where you really feel like, well, you feel like part of an actual family, don't you? Because that's what you're role
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, and we'll get to that, especially in these recaps, because that actually facilitated some of my best moments
It really did, yeah.
of this entire year. Actually, is having the going from having like my personal like story with Godric, and then his interactions in the greater story at Empire. But now I feel like I've got a personal story. I have like a family story in the smaller group, and then I have a wider story. So yeah, like finding a group that you like to play that specific game with as well is
Yeah.
is um, it's not it's not easy. I mean, we get on with pretty much everyone, but I'm not saying, oh yeah, we couldn't be in a group with anyone else. But you find people that you're really comfortable role playing with, and hey, we really enjoyed. Basically, we're back in Mortaire, right? So
Yes.
I've realised we haven't actually said that yet. So we're back
This is
in.
our roundabout way of telling everyone we're back in Mortar.
Yeah, we're back in House Mortaire. It was quite cool. Like, we didn't want to be like, oh, we're not telling everyone, surprise, but it was quite cool to see some of the reactions. I think a lot of people assumed that we were coming back, and coming back into that group. We hadn't been in. Our characters had only really just recently joined Mortaire anyway. Like, Godric technically wasn't really a Mortaire up until the very last moment moment anyway.
It was when it was like on the Thursday and we were setting everything up. And it's when we were like setting up our tent and we had like friends walking past being like, so this is a bit of a clue as to where you're gonna be this weekend. And we're like, well, our tent's gonna be here.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we're gonna. I mean, a lot of this recap is gonna be us talking about new character stuff. Really, probably not much about the event because I can't help it. But yeah, a lot of people knew we were in. Basically, a lot of people in Dawn would have known anyway
Hmm.
because the way we did it this time. So the biggest issue that we had and why we were putting on under so much strain creating these characters was because we didn't have backup characters. Um, Still don't have a backup character.
No, I got nothing.
We didn't have backup characters. We didn't really. I mean, backup characters are probably a good idea, but I always
Nothing.
think, well, you know what? You might end up changing your mind anyway. You might be like, oh, I've got this real cool backup character idea, but then when you actually lose your current character, you might have a
Yeah.
different feeling about playing the backup because the
Well, our
backup. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say like our backup characters were brought about because of the interactions we literally had at the event we died
Yeah.
and the group we had both recently joined. I
Yeah.
mean, that is what actually built our new characters.
Yeah.
There's no way I could have had a backup in mind. I mean, fair enough. You might have a bit of a, oh, I might want to try a bit of the Troubadour game. I might want to try a bit of that. But a full fleshed out character, like there was no way I could have possibly had that sitting there ready to go.
No. So our new characters were definitely born on the drive home from E3.
Literally on the drive home, I
Yeah.
sent Mark pictures like 20 minutes after we left the event. I was sending him like pictures I'd found online. I was like, I'm thinking this and I'm thinking this and maybe that. And he's like messaging me back, being like, I like that one. That's got like a great look. And we got home and we're like, okay, so these are our characters.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we just started crying again.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you want to talk about the characters now, or do you want to just talk about what we did Thursday and then do the character, then talk about characters on Friday?
I always talk about characters when we actually timed in on Friday because
Okay, cool.
we've told you all. So yeah, we
We're already 20 minutes in, so we'll blast through Thursday.
yeah, in Dawn, in and Mortar, we had a really great group of tents this time. We had like lots of space. We had similar to last time, we are still doing coffee, so we had our whole setup. And then a lot of Thursday was then spent hanging out with people, making everyone cry with our Aranel and Godric
Oh
shirts.
yeah, we've got
Like Aranel Godric shirts.
yeah. So we had again at the when our characters died, we had a priest put a testimony on our souls, which is like something that's written on your soul forever, your eternal soul. So on Godric's soul was written Aranel's love. You get the idea. You see the t-shirts. It's funny when we actually wore it, like because it's the first thing you ordered when we came back, and then as we were walking around, people were like, "Oh, I love the t-shirts," but as we were walking around, I'm like, they look very similar to the PD Crew t-shirts, and
I
hadn't
didn't even
noticed.
realize that, and I was looking at her like, ah, shit.
Yeah. No one said anything apart from me because it wasn't until we were like walking around for a little while. I'm like, we look like we look like PD Crew, but oh well.
PD, I know you're watching. If it's a problem, please let us know.
I don't no. I mean, it's not actually a PD Crew thing, but also, I'm pretty. Hopefully, they like us enough that it's a cool. So.
Yeah, so and we did some shopping because this event was a weird one. Well, not weird one, but my dad came to this event,
Yeah.
and so we had to take him shopping to get him some kit. I kind of used him as a bit of an experiment, actually. My dad never done anything like this. In fact, when I was first introducing him to people, he wanted to really make it clear that he wasn't a nerd. He wanted to make it very clear that he was there just to watch. He might put a shirt or something on, but he's just there to watch. And he had no information about the game beforehand. One, because I didn't tell him, and two, because he didn't really ask. So I just was like, yeah, I don't have your mobile out. That's it, really. Let's go.
Yeah. It's funny because like you've got to just let him experience it. You can't because he was. Yeah, he's sort of like in a way he's the last person. If you didn't know your dad, he'd be like the last person anyone would ever expect to try LARPing. But also that I know that he's secretly into stuff like this. He's the type of person that a lot of LARPers I know they do say this about their parents. That I'm sure they'd love it if they actually came and gave it a go.
Yes.
Coming on Thursday is obviously, I think it was a lot for him. I think it was a lot.
It was a lot. Like, we were luckily like because we had all the tech. We basically had like what is it? Did we set up 5 tents between us all on the Thursday? I think.
Yeah.
And then we set up 5 tents. So because that was the first thing to do. I think he felt a bit more relaxed because he could literally just set up people's tents, and it kind of was like a bit more familiar. But like a lot of the walking around, he was very much like oh look, my mate's texting me, winding me up, asking me if I've dressed up yet and things.
But he did tell his mate.
He did tell his mate. So that was Thursday, and that story is going to slowly expand over the weekend.
Yeah.
My experiment on a non-LARPer with no interest in anything like this, with no information.
Thursday was it was a big day. I was like, because I kept thinking, I was like, if he lasts through Thursday, he'll be fine. And the reason I say that is because obviously there's a lot going on, especially since like we are. I mean, that's one of the things that made me realize like we are definitely not newbies at all now, because I could see like the stuff pretty much every single conversation we were having was just going completely over his head, because obviously people just want to talk, they just talk instantly about the game, and it's just like it's straight over your head. There's lots of people, everyone's in sort of party mode, but they're also like geeking out about the weekend to come, and there's a lot of big let's say big personalities in that field.
Definitely. I definitely want to give a bit like a shout out to all the people who actually did come over to help out with that. Steve at Hefty Yeti, basically, when I said to him, because I messaged him, I was like, yeah, my dad's coming and he might just be coming to like, watch for the event, not too sure. And instantly Steve was like, yeah, tell him to come to our bar. He can come. So they've got a great bar there in Wintermark. He was like, yeah, he can come. He can have drink. He can have food. He can watch. We've got all the newspapers there. He can hang out with people. And, that's totally, he's totally welcome there and stuff. So that was really wonderful. And I did take him over to introduce him. But I'll tell you what happened over the weekend soon.
Yeah. I mean, it was he was a little bit like a bit, not dazed isn't the right word, but there was obviously certain things that were happening, and it was a lot, and it was a little bit not weird for me, but I was like, I remember I saying to him a couple of times, I remember him giving me a couple of looks, this is my father-in-law, remember, and I was like, I was like, yeah, obviously I'm in my element. I'm like, I was like, you're in my world now. you're in my, you can't make fun of me now. You're in my pond now, Oh
dear. But so like Thursday was great. We finished off the night at our group of friends at House Griffin Song. We finished off the night there, just having a few drinks and hanging out with people. And then obviously then on to Friday, we did our normal morning coffee thing. We're getting better at the morning coffee. We've got more plans for next time.
Next year I want to basically to stop having to grind so many different batches of coffee. I just need a big enamel pot, and they are so. I don't want to make this into a coffee podcast, but right. So like you to get the decent. To get decent like cowboy style coffee, like you basically what I do is I boil it in an enamel pot. You can get hold of like 1.5 liter enamel pots, which is what I use. It doesn't do that many cups of coffee, right? Because most of it is going to be the grounds anyway, and so you're only really getting like less than a liter worth of coffee at the end of one batch, and you go through that pretty damn quick. Well, we are getting through that pretty damn quick. So what I want is like a big, huge, like 5 liter one or something. But you cannot get them in the you can get them in the UK. You either have to be very lucky and find one at like a charity or a vintage shop or something, or you get them sent over from the States, because they are readily available in the States. But you're talking like 80 quid for the actual thing, and then another 80 quid to get it over here, and I'm like, well, no, I don't want to do that for a coffee pot.
And they're big as well. We've got a lot of friends that fly back and forward and stuff, but these things are big that I'm like, no, it's like we need to figure out a way of actually.
But I'm getting to the point where the investment might actually be worth it. Basically,
let's just buy one.
Yeah, let's just buy one. Yeah. Friday morning was. We are going to talk about the weather.
I was going to go into that.
The weather was just hot death. It was so hot for the last event of the year in September. It was unbelievably hot, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, it was impossible, to the point where PD did actually put a thing out to everybody just to kind of remind them that their own health and safety is more important than completely being in kit. And the PD were urging people, like, if you've got lighter versions of your kit, wear it. If you've got things that are not like 100%, or just wear it so that you are able to cool down. Because at this point, I took Dad to go and get him some kit, basically. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, I need a pair of trousers, need a shirt, need a belt, whatever else. Luckily, we managed to like scramble some stuff together to begin with. And then we went out, we bumped into Dolly, who gave us a hand to find a shirt. And he ended up just getting him a shirt because he had like these shorts that were like walking shorts. And we were like, actually, those do look in character. And it was so hot that all the trouser options were like, it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
so
because your dad was basically playing a Dornish Yo-folk sailor, right? Because he had like a fleet and everything, so he definitely looked the part, just wearing like the cargo, like the khaki shorts, and the shirt. He looked like he was had been working on a ship, you know.
It worked out great because that was a thing I was trying to like, because I wasn't sure if he would ever do any of the role play bits, but like in real life he's got a boat and he likes talking about it, so that and he picked, because I did the character creation with him, and he said, oh, I'll have a fleet, because I was just going to pick things for him. He's like, no, I'll have a fleet because I've got a boat and I can talk about that. And I was like, okay, so you're catching on.
We'll
that sorted him out
when we talk about like role play, because it was actually, there's a few interesting things that happened that we'll get to it. Thursday we did the shopping. Friday, sorry, did the shopping, and then it was basically just chill out in the heat until time in, right?
Pretty much. It was it was impossibly hot. Again, having a really good group setup, I found it easier getting ready this time because we had several tables, several mirrors, chairs. There was so many people around. It makes it easier getting ready. You don't feel like you're isolated by yourself trying to put pieces of kit on that are not working, or trying to get yourself dressed. Like, there was a lot of people.
Having a camp, it definitely helps. Because we have the awning, so we have an awning, so we have an outdoor covered area, an indoor covered area, icy indoor areas, out of character indoor areas ish, you know. So we have the all round. We have obviously a place for the fire, lots of seating and things like that. So I know
we managed to keep it like cool enough outside. I almost Morgan actually gave me a tip when we were there, because he was like, oh, I've like unzipped my ground sheet from my tent and created like obviously it's open at the bottom if you do that, but he said that it totally cooled down the whole tent. So I'm like, I came very close to doing that, even though drunk me would have had to re-zip it up later. So I don't know.
I mean, well, it was warm enough at night. I think the Friday night was definitely warm enough at night. You could have done that. Saturday night was a little bit. It got chilly.
Sorry, But like, so we got ready into our new characters. Up until this point, Oliver had worn a hat.
Oh yeah, so viewers might see that my hair color has changed. We had quite a kind of reveal, really, and you also decided to wear a wig, didn't you, as well?
By the way, I was so much cooler and more comfortable than I thought.
When you said I'm wearing a wig, I'm like, because I considered wearing a wig. And then I was like, no, sod that. It's going to be too hot. I'm going to be battling because I'm fighting another fighter character. There's no way I'm gonna be able to cope with a wig, you know, and taking that off at night to sleep and things like that. And you were like, well, I'm wearing one. I'm like, why? Why are you wearing one?
The wig, because basically, I don't know if other people can relate to this or not. I see, even if it's hot and sticky, the last thing I want to do in the world is sit and pleat my actual real hair. What I want to do is stick it in some cold water and tie it back. And I can't do that over the weekend if I've got to restyle it every day. Plus, I would have just looked like Aranel again. So I decided, well, what my plan was to wear the wig on the Friday. And if I couldn't handle the heat on the Friday evening, then there was no way I'd be able to wear it for the weekend. And I would just get rid of the wig and just have my normal hair for the weekend because the wig is white. So it's not that far away. I don't think anybody would have really said anything anyway. So yeah, I went for the wig. So wigs. I don't wear wig caps or anything. I hate the feel of wig caps. I hate lots of clips in my hair. I can't stand it. So I got a wig band, which has like a mesh see-through bit here so that I can actually get my natural hairline through it. And it's like a like fabric material coming round. And I just tucked my hair under that and I clipped the wig into that. I put a little bit of spirit gum around the edges. That was it. And it stayed on all weekend. Well, every day when I reapplied it, and I battled in it and it was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I guess at this point then we got into character.
Let's talk about characters.
Oliver,
let's talk about characters.
Just tell everybody what they see.
Oh yeah, let's do the awkward D&D thing of the first session where everyone has to describe their characters. So we're pretty much playing noble vampires, right? We went, okay, well, how can we both went, we want to be noble. Our basic things that we knew we wanted to do. We wanted to stay in Dawn. We wanted to just come in noble because we liked the noble game. We didn't get to explore the noble game enough as our previous characters. Through our previous characters, we both went for the the testing brief of Dawn. So we wanted to do tests of metal, tests of ardor. We've done that. We've been there, done that. We didn't want to do that again. So we knew we wanted to be noble. When it comes to things like bull gowning, Robin and I have we know what our rules are for what we're comfortable with bull gowning. We decided to come in already married. So the test of ardor is already done, and our characters are together. They're already married, so they're already a couple. And also as well exploring an in-character relationship with each other that's very different from Godric and Aranel, because they had a very what's the word, like a romanticized.
Yeah, it was very young and very romanticized.
Very Romeo and Juliet type.
It was Romeo and Juliet. Let's just say it. Okay, that's the story that was starting to form there. It was a Shakespearean love story. It was.
But we're probably playing this Shakespearean love story again. But this time we're playing Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. I think that's.
Oh my god! I love Lady Macbeth. I am happy with that.
Yeah, so we wanted to come at the noble brief at a different angle from Godric and Aranel. So not so different, because this is the thing we had to pass to make a new character. And I said this to a lot to people that were asking me about the new characters, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to be like what we talked about earlier, right? I don't want to play the same. I don't want people to think I'm playing the same person. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to then throw yourself into parts of the game that you don't actually enjoy just because that's what your last character did. So example, I don't want to play a fighty character because that's what my last character was. I'm going to be a magician that stays in Amble and goes to Conclave, when that's not really what interests you. You're literally just doing it because it's just different, So we wanted to keep a lot of the basics, the template for the characters is very similar to Godric and Aranel, but we just basically wanted to come at it as enough of a different angle, so you are definitely a different person, with different goals, different ambitions, but you're still playing the game that you want to play.
Yeah.
I think we spoilers. I think we achieved that, right?
I think so. I hope so. It was, I mean, we definitely did have a completely different look and feel to the previous characters.
Yeah, we were vampires.
We were pretty much vampires, and we definitely gave off that feel. So looks wise, I went for because I was like, how do I really make things look different? So obviously I went for a white wig, very long white wig, and I went for dark eye makeup, which is something I don't really do. Red lips and bright blue contact lenses.
Yeah, you look very
Um
different. You look very different from
yeah, and my ears, I was a changeling. I was a super like fiery summer changeling. And I got all my stuff on, and several people came into camp to chat to people and then looked, went, did not recognize you. So I was like, okay, that's what I wanted. But my character was the one who tested into the house.
Yeah, so this is how we because you again, this is an example of you enjoy playing the changeling brief.
Yeah.
I was ready to step away from the changeling. I was like, no, I've done the changeling. I'm not like I'm not I'm okay with stepping away from that, and I want to try something different. I'm not
Mm.
lineaged. I'm very nearly Draugr. So I am playing Damon Mortaire, who is a noble of House Mortaire. He was born into the house, so a born noble. I've had it that he's been noble for quite a while. I had it that is without giving away all my backstory because that can come up in game. But I had it that he like asked for his test of metal at a very early age, so he hasn't actually had much time as a Yofo. Hasn't really lived the Yofo life at all. Type because I really wanted to like really go noble, and
Yeah.
really, because like Godric was like a scruffy noble. Godric was just like, oh yeah, he was just like a fighting noble and was just like, cool, I'm noble now, but didn't really, was still probably way kind of, it was not, he was worse dressed than all the yo folk in the house, and he was probably dirty all the time. But yeah, I wanted to go real, like, so I had Damon. I wanted him to be like, no, he's been a knight errant since like childhood until like 20s, and then he's been a noble for the past like. So he's like Damon's closer to my age. Godric was
Yeah.
younger than me, so Damon's way closer to my age, which I'll be honest, was way more enjoyable for me role playing, because playing someone who fit the world better. The benefit of making a character at this stage compared to my first Empire character is I know the game and the world way better now, so I could make a character that was good at interacting with the world, as in like
Yeah.
had opinions about the world, had things in his backstories that reflected his opinions about the current world, that type of thing, and all, not playing the oh what just happy go lucky Godric. Um, but yeah, because he's born in House Mortaire, so the reason I went for the hair change is because, well, one, I was like, well, I wanted to make my appearance look ungodric like, and I wasn't going to go lineage, so obviously not being a changeling helped. But I was like, well, uh, the Mortaire, the blood Mortaires, that in the lore, some of them have white hair, right? And because Damon he's not a mage, so that's one thing. He's not a mage, but he is being very close to winter magic his entire life.
Yeah.
So it does, like, he's almost Draugr looking. I had maybe like one or two people saying, "Oh, are you Draugr?" Like questioning, "Are you Draugr?" And I'm like, "No, I want to be just like looking like, I've had so
Yeah, because
much."
you had like heavy eye makeup and things on this time
I wanted him to
and
look
a
a
bit
bit
of like,
gaunt,
yeah.
basically. I wanted him to look a bit gaunt. And it basically had lots of interacted with the winter realm a lot, but obviously had a lot of winter rituals because he hangs out with a lot of people that do winter rituals. Had tons of winter rituals done on him, so I wanted that to come through in his appearance. I wanted him to be a little bit, just a little touch of maybe Draugr. Draugr, well, I won't spoil anything, but when it comes to like the Draugr lineage, I considered it, and I was like, you know what, I think it'd be way more fun to gain a lineage in uptime.
Yeah.
That would be a real cool thing to do. Gain a lineage. So I wanted to be like, no, I'm going to come in human, um, and then maybe explore that type of game. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we came into it because you, like you said, are playing a changeling. So we figured out, right, okay, well, if I'm going to be a heavy winter, winter person, live my life under, around a lot of winter mages and things like that, and a heavy winter house. Um, yeah, well, why don't you describe your character?
Well, I play Lady Nymeria Mortar, who was an Orzal. She grew up in a heavy summer house and she loved summer and still does. She loves her Orzal family and she had some pretty incredible experiences with them this event. But growing up in a house like Orzal, a house who quite is well known for not being into anything winter and being heavy into summer, is a complete contrast to my previous character. I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of what she wants to achieve and what she doesn't want to achieve and everything else. But I will give you one thing, and that is that she has a bit of a hatred towards winter. And she refuses to have any winter magic touch her. And she's quite outspoken about that and quite loudly outspoken about that. And this is where it comes into that like out of character, that sort of like safety thing that we do in our house. And we will come on to this in a second. But before time in, when we were all together and Mark was going through things, he actually brought that up at that point to say, by the way, Robin's new character does not have winter magic cast upon her. So I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. And I was like, I'm so glad that people are aware of that, because that also makes it easier for me to role play things and not like forget. I know that sounds weird, but I was so worried about forgetting things and turning into Aranel. But because I know I want to still be able to muck around, have fun, and things like that. But I want to also play this really like stern looking, scary vampire lady noble. I decided to have that sort of Orzel influence, because then when she goes to see her Orzel family, she's different, like very different. She's hugs and kisses and loves them all, and she's ready to sing and to dance and to tell stories and tales of all the things that she's been up to, compared to her kind of general look when she's just with House Mortar and walking around.
Yeah.
So I was super excited. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about before about being comfortable with certain people. Out of character, all the people who play in House Orzel, I'd made quite a lot of out of character connections with them and in character connections as Aranel. And I was very much like, I don't want to drop that, because that's a place that I quite like being able to go and to sit down and to speak to people and to just know that it's a nice, safe place to be.
Yeah.
So I really wanted that in with her as well.
So yeah, I hope you don't mind me saying, because I do want to bring this up
Okay.
on the podcast, but because like obviously we were both upset about losing the characters. I know you were particularly upset, but I could tell, because I think this is valuable for a lot of people that might lose characters.
Yeah.
I could tell that you were worried that because people are like were being so nice and being like, oh, Aranel was so iconic, Aranel was great, Aranel was this, Aranel. I think you were thinking, oh, like these people love Aranel.
Mm.
And I was like, remember, like these are your friends now. Like we've been playing with them for a while. They enjoy playing with you, not Aranel. They'll enjoy playing with you no matter who they play. So when they see you again, they're not going to be like, oh, that's not Aranel. Obviously, from a roleplay point of view, they'll be like, oh, this is a different character. But they're doing that because they want to play with you. So that if they go, oh, this isn't Aranel, they're obviously respecting you enough as a player to be like, oh, this is a different character. I'm going to pretend because obviously this person is a different character, but they still want to play with you, you know?
Yeah. I
So
was so worried about that. And even though you told me all that before the event, I didn't actually believe it until after the event. Even like speaking to you, I was kind of thinking, oh, do they actually want to speak to me? Because I'm not really Aranel. And it wasn't until I got near the end of the event that I actually started pushing myself and
yeah,
going and speaking to
yeah.
people that I knew it was Aranel, and I was like, oh, but will he still want to
Yeah,
speak to me?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah, because basically what we both did was we went and we reached out to different all our different friends and things like that and went, hey, because yeah, this is something anyone can do. Uh,
Yes.
because we had out of character friends now, we were just like, hey, can our characters have a connection? Because this is our characters' first time in Amble. And I really enjoyed that. That was the thing I really enjoyed about this event was obviously pretending this is my first time in Amble, or it was role playing. This was my first time at Amble, but obviously I knew a lot of people. A lot of people knew me beforehand, so
Yeah.
you don't have to do that out of character. Like, oh yeah, what's military? If you're like, look, hey, I want to get into the military game with this new character, just message your friends who are generals and be like, hey, can we have a connection? So you don't have to walk out and be like, oh hey, yeah, who are you? What's your name? Okay, la, la, la. You can just be like, hey, yo, I haven't seen you in ages. How you finding Amble? Yeah, it's terrible around here. What the hell's going on? You going to military council? Yeah, what the hell's happening with this? Let's talk about military stuff. And you can just go
Yeah.
straight into it. You don't have to do that. Like, oh, what? I don't know what synod is. I don't know. You can just write all this into your character backstory.
Exactly. I mean, because the thing, I'm playing a changeling in Dawn in Hearts Mortar. He's in the military game. He's heavy combat. Who has some very similar goals to the last character, but she ended up being totally different. Like somehow I had all the same things there. This is so obviously a different character.
I think it's because we changed enough. So let's. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I won't pat ourselves on the back too much because that's for other people to decide. But we basically we did the thing that I always say don't do in LARP and in tabletop, especially in tabletop. I'm like, don't play like don't if you want to play a villain, like don't play the edge lord. Don't
Play the
don't
edgelords.
play edge lords. Don't like play the quieter characters that just like sit in the corner and judge people. You're not gonna have a good time. Don't play villains because if you play a villain, then people are especially at a LARP. But that's literally what we did. Like we
Do
played.
it.
We didn't play villains. But we went. We want to do this, and it is a fine. I think we did all right. I think we did all right. I don't know what you think. I think we did okay at
I
walking that line.
honestly, I didn't know how I was going to role play this character. And I'm sure Graham won't mind me mentioning this, but we're kind of getting into time in now. But there was an incident early on in the game where we were ready to start like properly role playing with people, and I was standing in the camp. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to role play this character. I don't know how I'm going to, I don't even know what my voice is going to sound like. Yeah, I have nothing. Graham came in and he's coming in as a UFO. And I kind of thought, okay, right, he's coming in as a UFO. But he looked at me and he looked scared. And I was like, right, I'm going to latch on to that. And I'm going to use him as a guinea pig here because this will be fine. And I just started doing this sort of like, just looked at him. I didn't see anything. And to the point where he like asked permission to come in, asked permission to sit down and everything. And I still didn't really say anything. I just kind of like looked over to the cushion on the ground with him. And I was like, oh, okay, this is working because he still clearly wants to role play with the character. So tick. We're able to do the role play, but this is a different relationship. Aranel, I kind of did a thing with her where whenever she was speaking to people, she sat down on the ground sort of thing a lot. And she kind of looked up from the ground because she's quite little and stuff. I felt taller as this character and I felt like, no, she's going to stay up and everyone else will lower themselves basically. And it was really weird. So thank you, Graham, for being my guinea pig. I know you didn't realize you were being my guinea pig, but you were. So thanks.
Yeah, it was difficult. Obviously, you speak to them. We spoke to them before time, but there was a few people that came in just as soon as time in came in, and people were like coming around. I think a few people obviously were interested to see what we were bringing because and there's a few people that we were like. It's a difficult line, right? Like you don't like if you're gonna play someone who's a little bit villainous, and that vibe. Because obviously you don't really want to play a baddie because you will just like get killed and executed in this game. Obviously, like you can't just. But it's very difficult to play the villain because a lot of times people won't want to play with you, because it's just like well
Yeah.
you're just you're going too hard. Because, and also in this type of game, I want to play a character that I can still, because we're there all weekend. I want to be able to sit down with my friends, have a laugh over a beer as well. Like you
Yeah.
don't want to be like mustache twirling, you know.
Slipping poison into the drink.
I'll get you next time, you know, and then not actually. So like it's a social game. Like you don't want to play that type of character.
No, no, no.
You don't want to go so hard that, again, like you said, that people don't actually want to role play with you because you're mean. You don't want to do that
Yeah.
either. And but you also, as well, you got to be careful, because depending on how comfortable you are, and sometimes you don't know how comfortable you are, especially if you're not an experienced role player or someone who role plays like really frequently. You might not be prepared for people giving it back, you know, because you'd be like, oh, I'm going
Yeah.
to play this villain, and then you do something. I want to give a villain vibe, and then you say something that gets someone's back up in character, and then they bite back. Are you going to enjoy that all weekend? You know,
Yeah.
are they going to enjoy that? The obviously the other thing that made us look so good was obviously the kit change. You know, obviously the personality is a big thing, but the kit is
Oh my
as
gosh, your
important.
kit change, like, yeah, you added a whole new kit and it was beautiful.
My kit. So my main piece was by our friend Scarlett of Golden Mochi um, uh, Designs. Golden Mochi Designs. Yeah, there we go.
Creations.
There we go. I'll put all the stuff down in the
Okay.
in the description. Um,
Yeah, this was incredible. Like,
previous podcast guest, and I was like, because like, I had like a month really after. I was like, right, what am I gonna do? Like I need to figure out um this character. I was like, right, I want to be the one thing that one issue with Dawn, the Dawn brief, specifically the noble brief, that's the mask kit for nobility is tricky. Like it's really
mm,
tricky to be a mask noble in
yeah,
Dawn, and get something that looks really noble with off the rack. Like off the rack is so difficult. So I was, Scarlet knocked up a beautiful surcoat for me, and I specifically was like, no, I want non-combat kit, because I have combat kit. I
yeah,
resprayed all my armor, so my combat kit was going to be something different. But I'm like, no, I want this character to look like he's well dressed, and also really cool. Like this is the first time I've actually worn like house heraldry as well, because as Godric,
yeah.
I had like Dawn heraldry, but I'd never had like, I was like, cool, I get to like do some real cool, um, wear some real cool noble stuff, which was
Exactly. I love, because I remember us like going through this all and everything, and you were trying to figure out kit and you were like looking at everything. And then it just became this message to Scarlet, this, help me, Scarlet, you're my only hope. You know?
yeah. So to get a look, well, obviously, like it's again, I wanted to, because this I went for a surcoat, because I was like, well, the surcoat will then be the entire. That's the entire look, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of just like one piece or something, it's like a dress or something like that. It's like it's going to be the entire look basically. And it's going to, it's good. So it's just, yeah, it's just beautiful. I'll put some pictures actually,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
up
it's
somewhere around here
absolutely
of it.
incredible.
And so obviously that helped. Your look as well was very different from Aranel. Like I was actually surprised how different you actually looked. You know.
Me too, because I kind of shot things together. When I say last minute, Thursday morning, I was outside with the sewing machine.
Yeah.
Like it was last minute.
But it looked
Um,
good though. Like,
yeah, I decided to buy some armor from Wormwick Creations.
God, that armor's so cool.
Might buy the rest of that set actually,
Yeah.
because I want to be fully covered. I've got these like cool big like skull pauldrons on, so I went for the pauldrons and I went for the gorget as
Mm,
well. Arnell never wore a gorget and she was always leather armor, so I thought I'm going to go away from the leather armor, as sad as that makes me. I'm going to
yeah.
go away from the leather armor and go full. And I went polyplate because I had the steel ones last time, and I did struggle with the weight. I
Yeah.
mean, that combined with the chainmail, it became too much. Um, And I would like struggle for like a week afterwards with my shoulders because of it. So went polyplay. It was amazing. I got this when we were at the event. I got this cool like padded red. What are they called? Like the gambus and like neck shoulder pieces, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I got one
little.
of
Yeah,
those like fur around it, and it's
yeah,
such a different look from Arnell.
yeah.
And
No,
yeah,
you look badass.
yeah, no, like Aranel was like always ready. She always had her armor on. She always had her weapons on her. There was never a moment when she didn't have that. Nymeria, I had her walking around with a dress, like an actual dress, um, for the event. Just walking around, no weapons on her at all, with a glass of alcohol, just like, with the same level of confidence, you know?
More, I would say. Yeah, it was very different. Like you were definitely giving off a very different vibe. And yeah, I was surprised how. Okay, so I'll say this now. This is probably my favorite event of Empire ever. Like I think this is my best event. And I say that because I think that one, like that being a new character, like obviously threw a load of new interactions and interesting stuff into the works, but also I
Yeah,
feel like I was definitely ready to leave Godric behind. I know you don't feel the same about Aranel, but I was ready to be away from Godric, to be honest. Like Godric would have had to have changed his personality quite a bit for me to keep being interested in changing. Being this character though, I slipped into Damon, so just it was so very natural for me. You know, I was like, oh, because I felt like I knew what his how he felt about certain things, but mostly about certain people. I concentrated
yeah,
more on what he thought about certain people than I did about what he thought about the war in the Barrens or whether like I had right these are the people that he cares about, these are the things that he cares about his house, he cares about his family, um and he will do anything for them basically,
mm,
but still living under the tenets of one, the Empire, Dawn, and then his house, his house tenants. And
yeah,
that's the thing. So I decided to go because you've already said you went like full combat again. I decided to dip a bit into the religion game because I was like, you know what, I've had an interest in that anyway, and I was a little bit bored of Godric being like, duh, what? For that type, and I liked role playing with priests and things like that. And I was like, no, I think I would actually be quite good at that type of role play. But I didn't want to go full priest, so I haven't taken a congregation. I've still got like a military unit,
yeah,
because his Damon is like the leader of the house forces in the Barrens up until this point, because it was a good time to bring new characters in because the Barons have now like been liberated, and a
yeah,
lot of people who've been fighting the Barons now coming back. So it's like, right, now Damon has come back home after campaigning for many years, and him and his soldiers are now back home along with Nymeria, and now we have now been like, right, what's happening in the house? All this stuff is happening. People in our house have been dying. What the hell? Let's go to Anvil and see what on earth has been happening, basically.
yeah. It was quite interesting actually, and I
Mm.
got to like role play that sort of way of being like, well, I'm actually not very happy about this. I had this happen and that happened and everything. Whereas Aranel was kind of different from that. But like Aranel's last event, she started getting confrontational, and I like out of character was like, oh, I've never been confrontational to people before. This is quite fun. And I went heavy into that this event. Um, but yeah, so you know what? Let's go now to our time in on Friday, because we time in this time we had a nice big group and we had like a house meeting. We all sat outside for a house meeting underneath our awning, and we all sat there as people were speaking about, first of all, actually, before the house meeting is we do an OC check. Kind of like those sort of safety tools in D&D. We do a check around everybody, make sure we know what people are hoping to achieve, but also anything that we need to be aware about. And we did all that, and then we kind of went, right, are we all like consenting, ready to go into role play? Okay. And then we all timed in together. and we had our chats and everything. Round about this point is when like my dad, because he was camping out a character, so he walked over, and obviously all this is happening. So he kind of like scooted down around the back and pulled out a seat and sat down to like watch. And we're having all these intense conversations for like getting everything ready for the event. And it was getting towards like the end of that, and I like walked over to get a drink and like whispered to him, and I was like, do you want me to like introduce your character? Like, you want to do or say anything? And he was like, I'm happy watching, but what are you going to do? And I was like, I'll just like tell them your name and you don't even have to say anything. He went, okay, yeah, go for it. And I was like, okay. I came back and I like did like an introduction to him, and they all like said hello and everything and welcomed him in. And then we started our event from that point there, which was quite exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, first, I mean, we've already kind of alluded to what the first interactions were kind of like,
Yeah.
with our characters, but it was really good. Like my fear was just based on nothing. My fear, what I said earlier, like my fear of like starting being like, oh, what do I do? There's nothing for me to do. Literally, like straight away, it was so easy. Like because people were
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
yeah, um, they want to see what this character is going to be like, and you want to know yourself like how this character is going to interact with them. And yeah, we already had like connections, and we was like, oh yeah, let's go see these people. Um, we
Yeah,
went.
like we had like lots of like conversations in the house,
Mhm.
almost that sort of like role play with the people in the house and stuff. Several people were coming in, and I was very much like, enjoying that kind of like scary noble vibe. But
Yeah,
then
yeah. Someone came in, a yeah friend of ours, and
oh yeah.
was like it was obviously it's odd, but like this is where it started. This type of thing. It was like he came in and was like, oh, I brought a gift for the house, um, and started talking about Godric and Aranel. It was just like no, they were good friends of mine. I want, and it was obviously it's just it's so fun, but also yeah, quite a little bit surreal. Like being like I was just like my new nonchalant character, just being just a noble and just staying seated when they're meeting these people for the first time and being like, oh yeah, I was friends with Godric and Aranel and blah, 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 and I had lots of respect for them, and me to just be like, okay.
Because we did know Godric and Aranel
Yeah.
from when they were fighting, and we did have that sort of like familiarity with them.
Well, they were family, yeah.
One,
So
yeah, exactly, yeah. Like one thing I forgot to say as well, this killed me. Our setup this time, so we had like the archway on the outside, and we had our house banner one side of it. On the other side, we had Aranel's Night Protector Winter banner. We covered it with like a slightly transparent
it's a
black
veil,
sort of
yeah.
veil. Yeah, we basically put a black veil over it, and then candles and flowers at the bottom of it for people to come and pay their respects. Oh my gosh. Like I was like, this is a great idea. We put it up and I was like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, we had
Every time I come back
candles
to
and
my camp.
yeah, there was people. The thing is, look, you've got to. I think we said this when we were talking to Anthony the other day. It was just like when you lose your
Mm,
character, those types of things are cool to like listen to, but also you got to let people get on with it because that's their role play
yeah.
to your previous character. So you don't want to be like shoehorning your new character into those
No.
interactions either. Like you don't want if people are like going right, I'm going to pay my respects to Aranel and Godric. There's no need for my character to be up there being like, "Oh, did you know them well?" Blah, blah, blah. It's just they're
It
doing
was
their
fun
thing.
listening to it.
Yeah.
Like it really was. And
Hmm.
then I think after like a lot of this, I remember saying to you, being like, you do need to come and visit the in-laws. You haven't seen them in a while. And like dragging you up to Orzel to come and say hello to everyone. And it was that's when I was like, I'm gonna have it in my character when she comes back to House Roselle. She's very much like family, hello, hugging them and happy to see them all and laughing. Whereas when she's away from that group, she's like this sort of stoic, noble.
You did a very good job at doing a different version on the Changeling brief because like you were very Changeling, but in a different way that a lot of other people play Changelings. You played this very like oh, I'm immortal, you know, because we were very much just like that, you know, vampire lord and lady, just like stoically sitting there, but like you were the basically the one that had the very sharp tongue, and then you would be like, oh yeah, and then you would all of a sudden be very touchy feely with someone, and then you'd, you know, be very like, oh, my friend, you know, my cousins, and la la la, which is, yeah, which is a fun way to play that. But then, yeah, as we'll go through the weekend, there were certain times that would just like set you off on a rage, and it was quite fun watching you take on the changeling brief, you know.
It was fun, kind of like leaning into, because when I read the Changeling brief, I read it as a chaotic neutral character in D&D, and that's my comfort zone. That's what I usually play. And I've always had like a specific way of playing that character. And I was like, I think that's how the Changeling, how I want to, I'm not going to say how it should be played, because you can play it however you want. You can take that information and do what you want with it. But it's how I feel I should play this character, and have that sort of the sharp tongue, that sort of brazen way of saying something and reacting passionately is what I see. I see chaotic neutral as someone who reacts passionately about things either way.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And what was really fun was the fact that like having like Damon there being this sort of like, especially in House Orzel, like Damon just being like the whole, yep, I'm here as well. In the summer house.
Yep. Hey.
And they're all like, hello, it's good to see you again. You're like,
yeah. Thrilled to be here. Well, I had it in my head the way I was going to roleplay it, in me like I try and get into the headspace of this is my first time being at Anvil. I remember, everyone, like Anvil is actually a war summit. You know, that this is where like we are an empire at war, and it is a summit for us to talk about war. You know,
yeah.
so as a military person and leader coming to Anvil, and first thing everyone does on Friday is party. And I'm like, I was like, what would my character actually think about it? He's not like, oh my god, everyone's partying, but I was like, that's something that he would have noted, like, first of all, being like, oh, everyone's intense and everyone's like having a good time, apparently, you know.
It was the conversations that we had like privately walking around, like you and I, and nobody else was there, and you and I were having these conversations where you're just like, so this is what they do.
Yeah.
When there is a war happening.
Several wars.
Okay. And you were like bringing up, we were like discussing, just the two of us, about these threats that were coming, and you were like looking in as certain tents walk past, certain party tents, defrost, certain party tents, and you're just like, okay. As we like flounce past them, I was just like,
that probably literally takes us to Lance Captain's meeting. So an odd one for me, this event, is that I don't have a Lance to lead, but I was like, I'm still gonna go. But this is one of the things I wasn't, not anxious, that's not the right word, but I was a little bit like, I still like that game, even though I'm not in that game. Turns out I am in that game, but so I was like, no, I still want to know what's happening. Basically, I'm still gonna go to Lance Captain's.
It was
make myself seen.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool one. There was a lot of stuff obviously discussed. It was quite a busy one and everything. We went through all the normal information at the end. They'd said like, people who are interested in, potentially like leading Dawn one day or doing something that's in the battlefield, stay behind. And it was Zoran who walked past and literally pointed at both of us and went, you two stay. And then kept walking. And I was just like,
I wasn't going to go anywhere anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go anywhere. Part of me was like,
you can't make me
should I stay? Should I not stay? I really want to do this sort of game one day, but maybe I shouldn't stay. But it was just that sort of combination of stay. I'm like, okay, go. Yeah. And that led us into some really fucking cool game.
yeah. So we well, I know that I don't know how much you want to talk about like your ambitions, like OC and IC ambitions, but yeah,
I'll tell everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we both still want to be that was the thing about like, oh, leaving Dawn. It's just like, no, we were like, we were just starting to like break into the Dornish military game, so
Yeah.
we wanted to stay in that. So our characters are still very much, and obviously like the people in that side of the game when we were, because we went to military council after, even the people that hadn't actually met our characters technically met our characters in uptime.
Yeah, they
Like
did.
we're literally just like very much like, oh, you obviously wanted to be part of this game, so and then the role play was just so smooth, you know. Um, but yeah, Lance Captains was yeah, I'll not go through like the ins and outs of just like it was just the usual. It was quite funny, like from a role play perspective. It was just like I think one of my questions was just like, I think I talked about like community. Oh, that was it, about faces. Like I think that was the funny little bits of role play that you get this little bit of a meta giggle as well. I was just like, I was like, well, I think the problem we had last time was that, you know, we didn't know who the wing commanders were, or so I hear from so I hear from the people that usually come to these things. You know,
Oh,
this
the
is my
amount of little sly
this is my this is
comments.
my first time
Oh,
here. Yeah. Um,
right here, yeah.
yeah. I think I threw a little bit of shade at the not the military council because I couldn't speak that, but the field marshal's briefing. Because I think I said something like, oh yeah, that was it. I think because we were talking about what forces we had in Dawn, and they were like, how many did Mortaire have? And I'm like, well, currently 3, because we took a lot of, well, yeah, we took a lot of losses. I hear last times.
It was all I heard was somebody be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no." And that was pretty amazing because, like, then obviously after that, we had a few chats and stuff, and that led us straight on to a military council. After that, and led us into the point we could go and like get comfortable, and I kind of like head over there now. I'll give you another little update of what my dad was getting up to this part of the game where he just wanted to watch and sit back. So he was at Lance Captain's meeting and watched it all. And he'd followed us to military council, so I didn't realize this until I saw him later on in the night. He had a chair. He was sitting there on a chair at military council, just on the entranceway, just watching, having a great time, watching it all. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is my 8th event. I've never had a chair.
well, this is the thing. Like, I knew that, I knew that we like there was no way that we couldn't obviously sacrifice our game to be like, oh yeah, let's see what your dad wants to do, because he was either going to be like, oh, I'll go off and do my own thing, or he was going to watch. But obviously, we were talking about like we went straight into like military council, which is not for everyone. It's a meeting, you know, it's a meeting,
Yeah.
and someone's first experience of LARP might not be the best, you know. And I can see, because even for someone who's interested in it, it can be boring, right? And you're just like, well, you know, especially since there are other like parties going on and things like that you could have seen. But you've just got to go, right, okay, you know, he'll understand that this is the game that currently interacting with.
Yeah.
And I think he was enjoying just kind of watching military council, but more so because we sort of stayed for military council, but it was more so the field marshal's briefing, because what had we decided? Crap. We were fighting on the Saturday.
Yeah, because we were fighting on the Saturday. So like like the military council itself, I really enjoyed this time. I
We're
always
doing a
like it.
terrible job, but we are not recapping it. We're just talking about our characters, which I don't care. We're just talking about our
Well,
characters.
no, because we've not got to that point yet, because
I
we
guess,
hadn't
yeah.
quite decided that bit yet. But like at the start of military council, I was like, wow, well, I have family sitting at military council. I'm gonna go and stand with them. And I'd already worked out like some like weightings and ideas I had, and I wanted to actually lean into like some more of my hard skills this time. And I spoke to Jeff Senior, it's plays Starash. I spoke to him before the event to be like, I need some help with this because my main hard skill is maths. I'm very good at maths and I teach maths and I love it. I struggled last time playing a noble because I wasn't quite grasping this whole thing where I was like, oh, well, I shouldn't be talking about like the money or this or that. But I'm like, that's my thing. You know, I really like doing that. And he explained to me very well that you didn't forget how to count or how to do that part when you became a noble. You just didn't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's a
But you
cultural
didn't
thing,
forget it.
right?
So
Yeah, it's like these briefs, they are just they're a guideline to a culture. So you're always
yeah.
going to be influenced by the culture you're brought up in. So someone like Damon, it's easy for me to be like, okay, well, he doesn't deal with money because, again, like I said, he never actually lived the yo life. He was a child, and then he was a knight, and he had an expected job of him to do. He was expected to grow up and take the place of the people, the military side of the house, you know, because he was,
Yeah.
you know, his sister became the enchantress of the house, and his so like he had a role that he wanted to do. Just that keeping the money and the finances of the house didn't really come into his life journey. But that doesn't mean to say that if I wanted to, I could be like, no, like, no, he was good with numbers, you know, and he was good with he was good with money, actually, you know,
Yeah.
all the times. In fact, he wanted to know, constantly asking the house seneschals what, you know, could easily do that. But
Yeah. There's a way of doing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's in general, culturally, nobles,
Yeah.
it's above
When go out
nobles to deal
trading.
with that
Yeah.
because that's someone else's job to do. You, as a noble, you have another job to do. That's all. It's not saying you cannot deal with money if you're a noble. It's not a hard rule. It's not like, oh yeah, you're not a mage in Urizen, therefore you can't vote type thing. It's not a hard
Right. Yeah.
rule like that.
Yeah.
It's a cultural feature of Dornish nobility. It's by no means a, oh, I don't want to be a Dornish noble because then I can't deal with money. That's just not the case.
Yeah, that was the thing. I needed like definitely that clarified, especially because I was like, one of the things that excited me about military council is the fact that there is some maths involved with our weightings and everything. And I'd like sat and played about with them like all these different weightings, and I'd like taken into consideration all of our different banners and things that were becoming and sworn to certain nations, and I'd come up with like my ideal plan. And like my one of my highlights was hearing what I'd written down being read off as a suggestion by the person that I actually admired more and thought should have had that. So I was like reading that, I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah.
Well, it was good because obviously, like on the drive down, like we were talking about the force weightings and who we thought should go what and what day. Because at this point, so if you don't know the game of Empire, that they come out, there's battle opportunities for each day, and military's council's job is to pick what opportunities we go on, i.e., what. Like, think of it like a D&D encounter. Like we get to choose what like quest we go to, right? So as a
Yeah.
big battle, we have a choice of like between days and what mission we go on, what battle we go on. The military council is literally, their job is to decide what we do on what day and what nations are going. That's literally their job. So and the opportunities, so the information opportunities come out on the winds of war before the event. So as Robin and I are driving up, we're having a look and we're like practicing, like mostly you, but you're practicing like force weightings and things like that. What was interesting is that because you came up with pretty much the same number as Zoran did, like obviously it was like, oh, it was cool because obviously, but then because you didn't have all the information from military council then, so it was cool that you got close,
No.
but also
I came up with it in the car.
yeah, also it was interesting that you'd obviously come at it from a Dornish point of view as well. You'd obviously
Yeah.
been like, this is how Dawn fits. So you know you're definitely on the, you know.
That's what really like made me like out of character as well. Feel quite excited because I was like, oh, so the fact that what I've written is what Dawn have already like decided that's what they want as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah,
Yeah, because it
that's
makes
what I
sense to you
want.
as a Dornish person, but then that's the thing. What happens in military council is that you go, okay, well, these people are fighting with these people and these people on that day, but then the Navarre are like, oh no, we don't want to go that because there is like this is an honor duel and against the Jotun, and the Jotun don't see us as actual people. So therefore, why would we go on? So yeah, that's the type of thing you were looking at from a Dornish point of view,
Yeah, I like
which is what we're
my
supposed to be doing.
thing. Yeah, so the ones that I like put together that didn't happen, and that's one of the reasons because I'm not a Navari and I don't actually fully know how Navarre feel about certain things, and therefore I didn't expect certain numbers score where they did, and it did, but I was still quite happy with the end result.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we basically, we decided that we would be fighting on the Saturday, and we would be fighting in the Barrens.
Oh yeah, we're fighting Druge again in the Barrens, which
fighting
is
Druge.
yeah.
Either way, we were fighting Druge. We had 2 Druge ones that we could pick from, and we decided to basically, after the last campaign, after doing everything we could to get the Barrens back, there is now a threat in the Barrens. Now, we were faced with another threat, and this is why I love Dawn. Because this other threat was more like a dangling threat to us. It was somebody that had escaped before and we wanted to get. But no, Dawn as a nation went, no, we're going to continue. We're going to defend the Barrens. We have people in the Barrens. We are not going to let...
it was so good for our characters as well.
Because it was perfect.
Yeah, because out of character, so one of the opportunities was to go into the Malum. It passed basically into Druge territory, past the Barrens. So out of character,
the Saltlands,
yeah. So out of character, I wanted to do that because I want to see what's on the other side of the back. I want us to just like push, and just find stuff out of character. But in character, the other opportunity was obviously, like you said, we need to deal with the threat in the Barrens because our people, like literally, my character has literally seen all these people return to the Barrens, return home, has been fighting a lot of time, and has now returned home himself. Also, it was to do with winter stuff, so winter Eternals have been.
And my character loves to kill winter
but also, we need to deal with winter stuff. If people are using winter magic against the Empire, no.
That's like a thing that you need to nip in the bud straight away. So, there's no deals to be made.
No, so in character, it was like there's no like I was very happy with the decisions that were made. The other opportunity was to go. Take the banner of Matilda Fisher, that was obvious that they were going to take that. The biggest debate was obviously who was going where and what day, So
yeah, I think it was really obvious that the marches were going to go for Matilda Fisher and that Dawn were going to go to the Barrens. Those were the two, in my opinion, the two clear ones. Everything else, that's where the debate started coming through. That's where things got quite heated. That's where things were said. That's where there was arguments, and it was so juicy and fun to watch. But as we were standing there watching all of this really serious discussion, our wonderful friend Bart from the Crimson Reapers came in with drinks for us.
Yeah, this was actually so we weren't really present for most of when they were discussing all this stuff. We spent most of our time in the field marshals meeting, and that's when we were drinking. That's when we were discussing. That was because obviously.
Oh, am I mixing two up?
You are, yeah.
Was that in the field marshals?
Yeah, because that's when obviously we decided Dawn, Navarre, whoever else, was going out on the Saturday, and this is when we were deciding because obviously, like our house is part. We have the Black Garden Coven, and like honestly, like my character's goals is to, he wants the house to have a big name in.
I love how like both Damon and Nymeria, like when they came to them, when can your coven do this? We were like, yeah.
That's just, it's
we go back to the coven. They're like, we can't do that. Yeah, they can do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
So we got a we got a winter coven, and we've got the main objective was to do a ritual, was to do a winter ritual, in the Barrens anyway, to stop whatever nefarious. I won't go into detail because I don't really know the details. I'm not going to bother trying to remember all the details. Basically, we need to do some rituals to then unlock another ritual site, to do another ritual, to do that, and it was all.
Basically, the Druge are now associating themselves with another Winter Eternal. Previously, it was all Agrement threats, and the Druge and Agrement working together. Druge are now working with another Winter Eternal who is pretty nasty.
Yeah,
and
one
they
of the first court, right?
Right, this is where I've not got it written down anywhere. In my head, I think it is one member of the
right,
the court.
Yeah, it is.
Tharim, or they're not like usually call it the prince or something like that.
Yeah.
This is probably all false, but yes.
This
So,
probably is true.
but the thrice cursed, they're nasty. Like their only real goal is to no longer be cursed, as far as I'm aware, and they'll do that based on any means. I mean, they're pretty nasty,
Yeah.
and this is who the Druids are now working along with, and they're working to bring things from there. And I was like, yeah, we need to deal with that, because if that starts spreading around, that is just going to cause complete and utter havoc. So yeah, that's obviously, yeah, that's what we decided. Yeah, so then we end up going to the party at the boys.
The boys, yeah, we were
The
invited.
boys.
Yeah, we were invited to a party at another house. Yeah, did some socializing. What did we do like in between that and because field marshal's briefing was quite late, right?
It was quite late. I think we did a lot of just socializing.
Yeah,
We walked
socializing.
around a lot. We spoke to people. I imagine we probably got food at one point.
Yeah.
I think we did actually go get food at some point, and we just kind of did a lot of like, yeah, rolling about, seeing people. And then yeah, we went back to the field marshal's meeting, and we got to do some pretty exciting stuff, because we sat down and we waited to kind of hear like Dawn's plan and everything.
Well, yeah, because like the field marshal's briefing is for everybody fighting on that day. So there's military council, and then there's field marshal's meeting.
Yeah.
Which that's where we stood at the back. That was actually my highlight of
Yes.
the Friday, actually.
Yes.
Because they were discussing what we were going to be doing on the Friday. We didn't really have much input apart from maybe saying if we could do a ritual or not. So us and our friend from House Asterion were basically stood in the back, and our friend from the Crimson Reapers, Fark, came up and was giving us these drinks, and they had.
What happened first is he came up and he stood next to me, and he was like, "Come with me," and he walked out, and I was like, "Okay." So went out with them. He took me to this little bar where there were these shots. Oh my god, these are amazing. So they had like the little shot glasses with the like dry ice compartment in the bottom of them, and they were filling them. So then we were like walking in, and he started bringing all these shots and everything in, and it's just like Damon and Nymeria standing there looking like fucking vampires with these little glasses of all this smoke coming out.
It was like, because we were obviously just enjoying ourselves, like listening, and we were just like, I remember just leaning into you and we'd like, we must look like such fucking vampires right now, because they're drinking these like bubbling like drinks as this like important meeting's going on.
The fact that Bart kept walking past us as we're empty, he was picking up the empty glasses, going away and coming back with more. And he literally, it was Will he grabbed. We went in, he just grabbed them and went, "You're paying," and grabbed all these drinks and went out. I think he paid.
Yeah, well,
I didn't pay.
That's what happens when you have rich friends. Helps. Or friends that tell their rich friends to pay for stuff. But yeah, so we sat there. We were trying to be intimidating. That was our job there, and then a real cool thing happened. So we had Zoran, played by Jeff, previous podcast guest, was the field marshal for this battle. Can you remember who was with us? It was Navarre, Dawn,
League.
The League. Oh, yeah, the League. That's right, the League, because the League will like
Imperial Orcs. What was it?
Urizen. No, we had Urizen with us, because I've just remembered because. Yeah,
did we have Urizen with us?
Yeah, we had Urizen with us.
Sorry, Urizen.
Yeah. Anyway.
We did have Urizen with us. Yes. I'm remembering now. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, Zoran was field marshalling. Arcavian, General of the Griffith's Pride, was given the task of leading Dawn, and Arcavian asked Damon if he would second.
Yeah.
So I was like, Yeah, I've got game. Awesome. Fuck yeah. So, yeah. But also the scary thing about that is that basically if Arcavian had died, then I would literally have to have led an entire nation,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh.
kind of terrifying.
The thing
Um,
is, like, cause like House Mortar literally had three of us. There was obviously
we had not enough for a
Nymeria,
lance, so
yeah, Nymeria, Damon, and Locke.
yeah.
Um, and the three of us basically we ended up just being like, well, makes sense that three of us were all with Arcavian then, with Damon being the second, and us all just kind of there. And that led on to a few other things because at this point it would have been when we were like just like discussing things. I think this is when we're like, just to remind you, we can still do a mass weakness. And I think because I knew that we were trying to push for this to be on Locke
Mm-hmm.
so that he could be with us anyway. And then at that point, they were like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Be on him. He's always there with the person who's leading, ready to be used and set off as like an explosion.
Yeah, yeah. That was the thing.
That
So
was cool.
yeah, we literally just made a little command unit, and so uh, actually we'll get to it when we talk about Saturday. We'll get to it
yeah,
Saturday,
yeah, I know. I was just about to jump onto that. I was like,
yeah,
no,
no,
stop.
stop, yeah, because Saturday was cool. But yeah, no, I was super stoked about having that amount of position because to be honest, like I came into the weekend being like, well, I don't have a lance to lead this time, so yeah, whatever,
yeah.
but I still want to be involved in the in the battle and things like that. And I was planning on just being like a floating entity, yeah, and then to jump up to seconding was pretty freaking cool. And
It was
obviously,
so cool.
yeah, it was so cool. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about
Yeah, yeah, because like
Saturday.
next we end up heading back to like our camp and
Hmm.
everything. Because like dad had disappeared at this point. So I was like, I better actually do a check, make sure he's not like obviously the last thing I wanted was him to end up like going back to like his camper van and just like not being too keen or anything. He wasn't in the camp because he made a new friend. One of the friends of the group had taken him off. They'd gone off to Navarre to songs and stories.
Yeah, it's always
So
it's always good when you
yeah,
hear a new player is just like, well, they songs and stories, yeah, they'll be fine over
yeah,
there.
that's it. They're fine.
Yeah.
So we ended up heading up to Wise Guys. So we thought we'll have a few drinks in Wise Guys. And then, of course, we've got Fark with us from the Crimson Reapers who got us into the wine bar. And we
Yeah.
pulled the curtain.
Yeah, we can't speak about it because it's super exclusive. So
We can't speak about it. Yeah.
super exclusive. No, yeah,
Yeah.
the rest of the
Basically.
evening was yeah, we did a lot on Friday. Like there was a lot on Friday. There was a lot of role play, a lot of because again, most of our Friday was taken up by just like new interactions with people, speaking to kind of old OC friends in a new icy way. It was just yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, and uh, one of my one really cool thing was that we were sitting in that wine bar
Yeah.
and it felt like we were like it very much suited our new characters as well because we were just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go into this wine bar, and we sat drinking wine with all these leaguers and yeah, one of the Dornish senator candidates came up. We did a bit of role play,
Yes.
and this is a player that I've played with since going on. We started the same event,
Mm.
and they were like, obviously we did our little bit of role play, and they were like, oh, by the way, how are you finding the new character? And I was just like, I said, I'm actually really enjoying it, and to my joy, they were like, honestly, it does not feel like I'm talking to Godric, and I was like, thank God. That's good. That's good. Because I don't feel like I'm Godric now. It's just like it's because I think people are just like, no, like you're giving off a very different vibe to what you were
Yeah,
with
you
Godric. I'm
did.
like, oh, that's good then. That's good. But no, that was a nice end.
Yeah.
Especially since we stayed up that late that it was like way gone time.
Oh, it was like half two, I think, by the time we actually decided to
Was
start
it?
heading back.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a bit later than that, to be honest. Or it was
Well, I think it was about half two that I was like, I'm gonna run down to the camp and see if like dad's hanging around there, because he likes wine. So like I ran down and then like I bumped into Lady Morgan and she's like, oh no, he was here, but he's I think they came back and then they went back to Navarre for a big ending at Songs and Stories or something. And I was like, oh, okay. So he just wants to hang out in Navarre with his new friend. I was like, this is good because it's like late and he's still out partying and having fun. And this is cool. And I ran back and yeah, we just carried on drinking, didn't we? Until we eventually staggered back to the tent.
to the point where I was like, when we did actually finish, I was like, because like I was having fun and it was like time out. And I was like, crap, like I do actually have responsibility tomorrow. I better actually go to sleep.
I forgot about one kind of funny thing that happened way back on the Thursday night. And this was myself and Ash. We were very drunk. Thursday night, we were drunk. It was pitch black outside because none of the lights had been put up yet. Most people hadn't put any of their fairy lights out or anything. And I was like walking in front. I was like, I'm going to go and get another beer from the tent. I walk past our big like onion tent. I go over the guy rope and I face plant into the mud. And I stand up and I look around and everyone's in the tent. They obviously saw it and I'm like, hello, came to say hi. And I carry on walking and Ash is behind me. It's the same thing. It's like, and everybody's drinks. Like, should we be? Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
We're like
Thursday, like if you come for the first time on a Thursday and it's your first time ever at Empire, just know that like the lighting is terrible on Thursday because obviously no one's got their lighting set up.
Yeah, take a lantern with you.
Yeah, no one's really got, especially on a warm night like it was. No one had campfires going either, so there was barely any light at all. Like the only light was basically where people literally were. So there's tons of guy ropes you just got to watch out for.
It wasn't until the next day I woke up and I was like, my knees are all bruised and my face hurts. I couldn't figure out what it was. And it wasn't until I spoke to like Ash the next day. He's like, are you okay? I was like, oh, we both fell over, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Okay. How many people saw? Everyone. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Our entire group.
yeah. Actually, just because we were talking about the Friday there, yeah. Thursday and Friday were like heavy nights and late nights for us. Like I was like, I'm surprised how well we did in the mornings, both Saturday and Sunday, to be honest. Because
we got through all our alcohol and more.
Oh yeah, I had to go out and buy. This sounds terrible,
more.
doesn't it? Yeah, I had to go out and buy more drink and food and things like that on the Friday morning because we had like gone through it all. We had help.
Oh yeah, we went through everything on the Thursday, and oh my god, yeah.
That was the last one of the year, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was our excuse for the other events?
I don't know.
First one of the year, second. Yeah, okay.
That's one. It's third one of the year.
It's the third of the year.
Yeah. Anyway, should we wrap that episode?
Yeah.
This episode up now?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. So that's us wrapped up our Friday, and then next time we'll come back with our Saturday morning, ready to do some like important military stuff.
Man, I feel like this is going to be like a 4-part one because we've already gone for like 1.5 hours.
Saturday is easily a 2-part episode. Yeah. So much happened on Saturday.
Massive. Yeah, we'll try not to draw them out as much as this. But anyway, if you've made it to the end, thank you very much for sticking with us. If you enjoyed this show, make sure that you follow, make sure you subscribe so you know when a new episode is posted. If you're listening on your favorite audio platform, make sure you do the same. Make sure you follow, give us a 5-star review, share this around, leave us a comment down below if you got to the end here. If this was your first event, tell us how you got on. If you spotted our new characters from afar, tell us what you think. Tell us if we went too hard into being a villain or whatever. Anyway, we're going to say goodbye from us, and we will see you next time. We love you, and stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.